So I'm going to tell a story about myself, my brother, and an older white man. No, this is not different strokes. It's something that actually happened. So when I was 7 years old, my family moved to Springfield, Pennsylvania, Delaware County, well, not that it matters. And we moved into a house which was very typical for Springfield. It was surrounded by really old neighbors. It's a very aging community. So most of my neighbors were old and not very cool. But the guy we shared a driveway with was this guy, Dale Powell, although I used to call him Mr. Howell, because at 7 years old, I thought Howell because of the Gilligan's Island character. And I had horrible taste, and I watched a lot of Gilligan's Island. So I would constantly call him Mr. Howell until finally I was like, no, it's Powell, and I realized it. So, Mr. Powell, Mr. Dale Powell, interesting guy, especially for my neighborhood. He was, give me some background here to set up the actual story. He was from West Virginia, which, really nobody in the area was, so he had this really cool accent. He was from the coal region. So he had a lot of really cool stories about growing up dirt poor and eating coal for lunch and stuff like that. He might have been lying, I don't know. He's taking advantage of kids, not in a bad way. And just our gullibility, not our. Never mind. So yeah, he had cool stories about growing up poor in the coal region. He was a bomber pilot in World War II, which was the coolest thing to me because I was and still really am a huge World War II buff and really I used to go to air shows with him, and he would know everything about the planes. It was so cool. He was a semi-retired accountant. Even when we moved in, he was getting on in years, and he's a semi-retired accountant who his main source of income was he was teaching golf on cruise ships, which is kind of cool. His wife would teach bridge. They would go on cruises. His wife would teach bridge, and he would teach golf to the people on board because he was a professional level golfer just on the side. And that was his little side business. Had a darker side too, though. And the one incident that really sticks out for demonstrating this man's darker side is one day, it was a very nice day out, and his grandson was over. And his grandson was a few years younger than me, but I was, I'd be nice and, try and include him if me and my brothers were outside playing, and we would, try and involve him, or if we're riding our bikes on the driveway, we'd be like, yeah, ride your bike with us, just trying to be very nice, neighborly. And one day we were riding our bikes around, and he had a bike with training wheels. He was younger, and he accidentally ran his bike into my neighbor's dog. And this man, one thing he loved more than golf and World War II planes was his dog. He loved this dog. And his grandson accidentally crashed the bike into the dog. So my neighbor, Dale, comes over, sees what happened. The dog had yelped, and so Dale ran over as fast as an old man can and said, "What did you do? What did you do? What did you do?" And he said, "Grandpa, I'm sorry, I ran into Bumper," was the name of the dog. I ran into Bumper, which that sounds like something you're supposed to run into. No, the dog's name was Barry. He's like, I'm sorry, I ran into Bumper and I hurt him. He's like, "You sure did hurt him." And then he takes the bike and rams it into his grandson. Rams the front wheel right into his grandson's gut. And at this point, his daughter, his grandson's mother, had come out and saw what happened, and sees this happen. She picks up her crying son and puts him in the car, and they're like, "Where are you going? I'm so sick of this shit. What's wrong with you? You're a horrible person." So, from that and from things that I would hear, being yelled from that house from across the driveway, I got the feeling that he wasn't all fun stuff like airplanes and coal mining stories. So, because those are really fun for me, because I'm a huge fucking nerd. So, also, there was an incident where my father, him and Dale used to have little tomato grow-ups every summer, where they would see who could grow bigger and better tomatoes. And my father was convinced that Dale poisoned his soil one summer. Absolutely fucking convinced, and was trying to sleuth it out and was trying to figure out a way to test it to see. And was, spying to see if, and thought about getting revenge. And this was obviously very exciting for my father. So it makes sense that years later he went nuts and fucking fled and left suburbia. So yeah, that's Dale. Now the other thing is Dale, like I said before, golf, bridge. They play bridge. his basement was really cool because he had all kinds of fun stuff down there. Like, if you needed to learn to play any white people games, these are the people that go to, like, golf, bridge, rummy, like all that shit that only old white people play, I assume. They're the people to go to. So Dale would actually have me and my brother Matt, who's like 2 years younger than me, over a lot to go down the basement and hang out. He had darts, so I know, it sounds... Again, yeah, perfectly innocent. Very nice Christian man, which will come into play here, actually. Yeah, not that ever stopped anybody. Smile. Don't say don't rape kids. So Dale would have us come over, and he had darts, so I love throwing darts. He had this, a computer golf game that was like the state-of-the-art best golf simulator that existed back then. Now it would just be awful. Like you'd have it on your phone and be like, this sucks. But back then, it was really cool. We're talking like, 20 years ago. And he had a pool table. And the pool table was my favorite thing because I was really bad at pool, but I loved learning it because of all the math involved and like the angles and everything. Like I said, I'm a huge nerd. And I really wanted to learn, and he was, of course, good at pool, and he would teach me. And my younger brother, Matt, who's 2 years younger than me, but considerably smaller than me, he's the run of our family, he could never reach high enough to play pool. Until finally, as he started growing a little bit and would come over, he was always there watching. Dale finally said, like, Matt, you want to give it a shot? And Matt was like, yeah, sure. And so he gave Matt like a little stick, and he was like, I'll show you some real basic stuff here. And he shows him how to shoot and show him the technique and everything. And it seemed like everything was going really well until Matt, his first shot, he missed. And he said after he missed the shot, oh, God. And Dale said, what was that? And my brother said, oh, I missed. And he said, what'd you say after you missed? And my brother said, oh, God. He said, son, I'm going to tell you right now, don't ever take the Lord's name in vain in front of me. And all of a sudden, our fun little game of pool became the scariest moment of my life. I was like, whoa. This is not Dale, like, what's going on here? This is a little, I knew the man was I was a very devout, I was an older boy, I was, like, very Catholic, like, took myself to Mass and get dragged there by my parents, so I got the Christian thing back then. But I was a little bit freaked out by this, because he was very serious. He said, don't do it again. So, we keep playing, my brother misses another shot. Ah, jeez. What did I just tell you, boy? Not to take the Lord's name in vain? That's right, what do you think Jesus is? It's just a word. No, that's short for Jesus. That's the same thing. You can't say it. You can't say all God, all Jesus. You can't say all G's. You can't say that. That's blasphemous. Okay, I won't say it again. I'm sorry. And at this point, Mr. Powell, please, he's young. I understand where you're coming from, but, and I didn't want to get kicked out. I was enjoying playing pool. So, we play a little bit longer, and it happens to my brother. Oh, God. All right. That's it, young man. I asked you not to take the Lord's name in vain. Wait here a minute. Dale walks away, goes into an office, off like the game room. Goes into his office, pulls out his office Bible, because, sure, everyone has an office Bible, right? Goes into his office, pulls out a Bible, opens to Exodus. I believe it's Exodus 27. Like chapter 20, verse 7. Thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. And he opens it up, and he opens right to Exodus and says, thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. Now, that might not mean much to you. Yeah, he's 7. That doesn't mean shit to him. That might not mean much to you, but it means everything to me. Now, I asked you not to say it, and you said, get out of my house. And my brother, the little tough guy that he was, says, well, I don't think we should have to leave. And Dale, left with no recourse, picks up my brother and carries him to the back door and throws him up against the door and says, get out of my house! To which I said, we better go. Because this guy's the devil. He's saying Christian stuff. He's Satan. So we left. Yeah, I mean, looking back now, I you know, especially now that I'm not a Christian anymore, and you know, I really feel like I should have stood up for my younger brother, but I didn't, and that's doesn't really affect me. I'm fine because of it. He might not be. My brother may have been traumatized. I don't know. He's got problems, but I'm good. So anyway, a little epilogue. About, God, I guess when I was 16, 17, Dale died. Oh well, after that all happened, actually, my parents. This is how I knew something was going on with him. My parents actually kind of played it off, and they told me that the reason that Dale had gotten so upset and didn't seem even crazy even for him was that he was in early onset dementia, according to his wife. And he was in, so that was their explanation. He was in early onset dementia, not late adult onset asshole. So, great. So, like, yeah, 6-7 years later, or yeah, when I was like 16, 17, Dale died, and, you know, I had actually, my brother obviously never was close to him again, but I had maintained friendliness with Dale. And when he died, my mom said, "Do you want to go to the funeral?" And I said, "Of course I do. I'll get off from school if I go." So I went, and I took the day off from school, and that's the end of my story about Mr. Dale Powell, me and my little brother. But